Well, good day. Hello, everyone. Hello, Sean. Sorry, my interface seemed to be good, but it wasn't. So we're good now. How you doing, man?
Yeah, like I said, as good as we can be. Well,
Yeah,
we kind of, but hey, we're here. So
we're here. This is my process right now, or what my wife and I have decided is that we're trying to put blinders on as much as possible. I don't know how long that will last. I don't know how long. I don't know if that's sustainable.
yeah, my wife and I, we went to a museum this morning.
Uh-huh.
As good as
I'm gonna turn that down a little bit.
Yeah, a little. Yeah, I would turn a little bit down, but it's Sunday. We're here.
It's Sunday afternoon.
I would turn down a smidge more, Dom.
All right. How's that?
Yeah, cool.
I don't have as much control over this interface as I thought I did. Hey, everyone. Hello, Alex. Romuald. What's up, Mark? And Jonas. Yes. Stunty's here. Well, we're gonna jump right into it. Me and Sean have been talking a while for just to get together again and discuss just music. I wanted to sort of present some new releases again. And these are things I've been eyeing, like sort of paying attention to over the last couple of months, I should say. And I sort of thought, the good chance to bring these records to present here. At the very least, to spread the word about them. And if you're interested, you can purchase them. So that's the game plan. I've done it a couple of times last year. And we'll jump in. Sean is here with me. He likes to turn up here and there in the vinyl community. I think he,
every
when the
quarter,
time's right,
once a quarter. Make my quota once a quarter.
Hey, Tom. Oh, some good folks turning up here. Pat, Paul, Derek. Hey, this is the record we're playing though. Uagada, and it is a Finnish group. I guess I need to solo. The shrink's still on. Sorry, everyone. But this is the record we're listening to, which you can hear some of the background. I'm probably not doing it total justice just based on my my little interface I have going on here. But this is a record I've been into for a couple months, and I purchased a few copies. And if anyone is interested in this, I'm selling it today. Selling it right now. It's the ripe old price of $27. It's on the We Jazz label. It is released last year. Most of the stuff I'm going to show you today is last year because we're pretty fresh into the year. And it is apparently it's the debut album. I don't know if that's quite right, but the hype sticker says Finnish underground jazz. And I've been enjoying it. It definitely there's an American sound to this at times, but certainly a free sound as well. And it definitely has moments where it gets out there, but then there's these nice sort of meditative moments. This is what we have. You know anything about this, Sean?
I do not. I mean, I know We Jazz pumped out tons of reissues. I have a few We Jazz reissues and releases. I mean, kind of trying to think what I've got. There's this. I want to say it's pronounced KVI Curvanuri Trio. I have this Anne Curvanuri Trio record that they did.
Okay.
Back I want to say it was probably early last year. That's really, really good. But I know they just keep pumping out, releases and reissues. Good label though. I mean, as far as quality of their records, the few that I have, I don't have any issue with.
I don't have a ton of their records. I mean, from what I understand, it's pretty much European, I think.
Yeah. I think it's all European.
Yeah, but this is Finnish. This is a new band, obviously. So I thought we'd talk about this record a little bit and just shoot the shit for a little while. And
look at that Supersonic Orchestra record.
What's that now?
Kind of like this superstar lineup of sort of, I think, Finnish like jazz.
You'll be all right, my
I
friend.
want to say I bought it last year. I know Signe Ibmuth is on that, not on this record, but on this
Yes.
like family supersonic orchestra record.
I've been sort of, yeah, I see it. Super, right, I see that. I'm looking through their label discography. Oh, Cicada Quartet is on this label with Nels Klein, who I saw perform this summer with that quartet. It was superb.
Honestly, the two singles that just came out for his, I guess, newest Blue Note record, I think it's coming out in spring, sound good. I mean,
Yeah.
it's, it's nothing too out there. I mean, it goes kind of out there, but it's, it's good.
Yeah.
Solid.
Yeah, I've just been enjoying this one. I've had it for basically since the turn of the year. Here they are again. But otherwise, what's happening with you? What's happening with you? Want to tell everybody about Birth Defects? What's coming this year?
I mean, that has not quite been announced yet, but
Okay.
It will be March. I know. Actually, I've got to talk to Stunty at some point.
He's here.
But there's stuff going on that it'll be announced in March. Yeah. But I know you've got a tour coming up not fairly soon, but
yes, thanks to your help on one of those for sure. Yeah, I haven't totally announced any of that stuff yet, but that is coming. Yeah, we have a weekend tour scheduled in March. No, I'm sorry, in April. Toronto, Buffalo, Rochester, and the June we have Philly's TBD. We have DC confirmed thanks to your help. We have Raleigh close, or it'll be in Durham actually. Knoxville's confirmed. Charlottesville confirmed. And it'll only be 5 days. It's hard to get away from the family for more than that. So,
when was the last time you were on tour?
Like never. I mean, in college, I did a small tour with my punk band called Shortchanged. This is going back to like 1999, 2000. Everything else I'd done with bands was in New York. We just played around New York when I lived there. So I've never really done full touring, man. I'm excited about it. We're kind of old.
Yeah.
But
yeah, well,
whatever.
Well, with my band, we'll be touring kind of around the same time that you'll be touring, but we'll be going up north. I mean, obviously, I'll be around for your show in DC. But
awesome.
Yeah, we're also kind of all adults, and one of the things that we realize is that we're gonna not sleep on people's floors. So we were just like, we're gonna do hotels, motels. Like, I want to shower like on a regular basis. Nice. But it is interesting touring when you're older. I mean, before Birth Defects, we kind of broke up, went on a hiatus. We were touring fairly regularly before that. Yeah. Not long tours, long weekends or week tour. And even then we were in our 30s, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And when I was touring in my 20s, early 20s, it's totally different. It's you know what I mean? Priorities are obviously, especially if you have a family.
Yeah.
But for us, it was just kind of like, let's just play really good shows and not be exhausted. That way, you know what I mean? This
minimum,
is even more
bare minimum.
So
yeah,
that's
our thing. We'll be quite busy this year. That's the long and short of it. We're looking at a June 6th release of our first LP. I'm going next Monday down to I'll be going next coming weekend down to New York to master the record direct from tape with Paul Gold, Salt Mastering. Same as we did last EP. I'm going to sit in on the session, take as much video as I can. That'll be the final. We did the final mix, the tape to tape, basically last week.
Have you announced any of that? I didn't want to,
no,
over any.
No, I have not. I mean, no, just it's basically going to come very soon. Now, I'm going to ask the vinyl community for help, because part of what's today's stream will be some help too, just in the personal records I'm going to sell later. But I want to announce everything in a few weeks and sort of do a little bit of a marathon stream, see if I can drum up some money, because we've used all of our money to go to Chicago to record the rest of the record here. All the money was basically generated from the last release, which sold out, which I have definitely a lot of people here to thank. But so we were able to get as far as we could through all of the mixing and recording. But when it comes to mastering and pressing, now we're a little dry. So I'm trying not to dip into my own money too much. So I'm going to see if I can drum up some support.
There's nothing. Yeah, I don't blame you.
It's fucking expensive to do.
Yeah. I mean,
this proper.
We dipped into our own money to get the mixing and stuff done. I mean, I don't think it's any secret. I don't know if you've announced where you mixed your record out or recorded your record, but we mixed our record at Electrical Audio. It was kind of funny because we were not doing it back to back, but it was very interesting.
We're in kind of similar stages, yeah.
Yeah, and so it but I will say, and you know this too by recording at Electrical, you get your money's worth. You know what I mean? Yeah. We came in with a record that was engineered by somebody else, and we left with a record that was mixed to half-inch tape, and it sounds exponentially better. Like not just that sounds good. Like you clearly did it as a student. No, this sounds exponentially better. I mean, there was not getting too in the weeds. I mean, there was some pressure on who mixed the record because somebody else was supposed to be mixing that record.
Yeah. Well, recording at Electrical Audio was an incredible experience, but what the cost of what it actually is very reasonable, and you're getting to use like legendary mics and the room. I mean, it's completely worth it. I don't know how we're gonna not do that in the future.
I will say the only time I really kind of had a sort of fan person moment was I asked the guy that was mixing our record. I was like, "Hey, did Iggy Pop get here when he was engineering all those Stooges sessions?" And he was like, "Yeah." And I was like,
"Whatever."
That's as close to I am as non-religious as you could be, but that is as close to a religious experience where I was like, I'm sitting in the same chair that Iggy Pop sat in many years ago.
Yeah, it's those rooms.
And supposedly I used a mic that Iggy may have used because we had to do some vocals.
Yeah.
So it was like
great. But I like that it's just another session, another day. They're like, oh yeah, Iggy was here today, and Jeff Parker was here the other day, and Tortoise was working, blah blah blah. And, that's kind of true workman-like kind of thing that Electrical Audio is, and how Steve Albini was. By the way, this is the record. I'm going to move on to another record. If anyone wants this from me, I have 2 copies for sale at $27. Hey, no pressure, but that's sort of.
And by the way, Tom, I'll keep in our chat. If people are buying, just let me know their name, and I'll.
Oh yeah, awesome. I'm going to play a record now that I think. I know I've already talked to one of you about this. This is the new Klaus Weiss. This is the cover of it. This is the inside here. It very much mirrors the Baraka release. This is Sabiha. Klaus Weiss of Popol Vuh fame, or at least for part of the time he played during those early to mid period records. And this is another exceptional ambient drone. Let's see how this sounds through the stream here. Again, with Baraka and like with Maracaba, no synthesizers used. No, that's his thing. He clearly liked to mention this. So that's starting up slowly. But this is sold out at the source. As actually was the Ouagada. My distributor, Force Explorer, doesn't have any more of these. So I got one more of these. One person is already in for it. So let's play a little bit of this. This is from 1982, and this has never been on vinyl before. That's kind of the thing. All of his stuff was tapes, cassettes, and this is the lenticular outer.
Yeah, I was tempted to grab that off Soundome when they had it a month or 2 ago, and it's just one of those things that.
Here we go. Slowly starting. Starts slow. Yes. Oh, right. That's I put that record in my target list for the year, which I think I have a couple of things coming. Thanks to a few of you here. Thanks to this man. Yeah. Kasugi. Yeah, that's Catch Wave, isn't it? Hey, Michael. I'm just catching up on comments here.
That's true. That's true. It wasn't. There was many of.
There it is, Catch Wave.
Yeah. There's a beer that I had. This was like a year and a half ago. There's a Brooklyn brewery that kind of does. They're kind of just like they did a boredom's beer, and they actually did a Catch Wave beer.
That's pretty niche.
Yeah.
Catch Wave, like 3 people were like, oh my God, is this like a deep Japanese beer? What is this? I'm assuming it was based on.
No, it was I want to say it wasn't an IPA, but it was Grim Brewery out of Brooklyn, who they have connections to that collective in Brooklyn. It'll come to me in a minute. But anyways, they have connections to a record label in Brooklyn. They've released like boredom's beers. They did a Big Star beer.
Okay.
So it's very like niche stuff.
I don't know how that translates to the flavor. I'm supposing it's just a bit of a gimmick in a way.
Yeah, I think that I want to say actually the Catch Wave beer was a sour. Now that I think about it.
Okay.
Boredom's beer was, I want to say, an IPA.
Okay. Yeah, whatever that was called, I'm familiar. Don't have. But again, we have Klaus Weiss. This is a $26 record. I have 1 copy left of this. This one on Black Sweat once again. I don't know the story if they repressed these or not. I think they did. I don't know if Baraka, the last one they did, is available at the moment. For a while, it was gone. I highly recommend it. I mean, it's kind of the thing right now that I can't go wrong with, or doesn't go wrong for me, is this type of sort of atmosphere, which I don't know how well it's translating, but it's in there.
They did and I actually because I just looked it up. They did a really good and I'm going to pronounce the artist names terribly, but a Dagar record. It was Zia Mahololunin Dagar and Zia Bahara Dudin Dagar. It's a Ragas record. It's really
like the Dagar brothers, the Dagar brothers. Dagar?
Yeah.
Yes.
That record is unbelievable.
I missed that one. Yep. That's right. I'm looking at it now. Yeah, that one's gone too. So I'll just take a look here. But Klaus Weiss, I hope they keep continuing with these tapes. He's got tons of cassettes from the early to mid 80s. Yeah, it looks like Baraka is out of print at the moment, at least through distribution. So if you're interested in this, you can buy it off me right now or go find it on your own. But I'll give you the fair old price of $26. I'm still trying to hunt down. I've sort of unofficially or not talked about it all too much, but the Popol Vuh records with him on it, I'm still missing in my collection. One of those days I like to get them. They're out there. It's just always conditioned with that kind of thing. Eating those to sort of be in pretty nice shape.
I know krautrock has always sort of been collectible, but like I feel like in the last year and a half, like krautrock has just been unbelievably collectible.
Yeah,
like, it's really, kind of like even like certain like krautrock records that were fairly inexpensive original presses, and the very few people that know me in the VC world or whatever, I'll know that I'm not really a big OG person. I mean, Dom, you and I have talked about that. There's certain records I'll buy OG stuff for, and there's stuff but that's not me looking down on anybody that goes that route. I know clearly you're kind of going that route, but my overarching point is I don't again, krautrock to an extent has always been collectible, but like Guru records, those have suddenly shot up in price, and I could get a Guru OG fairly easy 3-4 years ago.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't super cheap, but it wasn't. We're talking now records in the hundreds of dollars.
Yeah, I think those tended to be when I bought them, they were anywhere from like 60 to 100 euro. The Gurus.
Yeah.
First presses. I mean, from Germany and everything, decent shape. I haven't checked recently on. I haven't played the Guru Gurus in a while. I mean, they're definitely guitar heavy records. I'll have to be sort of in the right mood for those. But yeah, I mean, certain things really feel good for me to go after those original. I know you understand that too. It hits the certain itch. But I've been moving out reissues only as a because I need a course, a good sort of strategy going forward. I'm trying to keep my collection to a certain amount because there's just not any real room here. This is like the only room that doesn't have that many records. There's a bunch right over there, but I'm sort of at a point where it's got to stop here. And this is sort of a strategy that makes sense, is to call things in that way. For now.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's funny for me. I don't know if I'm at that point yet. I also pay for storage space, so this is like.
Oh, you do? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I have a storage space that has. This is probably 3 or 4. Like, you can't see the rest of the record room, but
yeah,
what I'm getting
looks
at
pretty full. It's pretty full. I see
that
there
is going to be a limit, even with my storage space, where I'm like, all right, where do we go from here? And so I'm not there yet, but I'm getting there.
Right. I was just going to answer the question here from Michael that we were playing this Uagada on We Jazz, which I'm selling. It's just called Music of We Jazz from last year, but new like late last year. And right now I'm selling this record. This one I do have a copy for myself because I'm a big fan of this kind of music. It's just very simple: voice, harp, tambura, harmonium. So if you're interested, I said I'm kind of not really making it very clear, but you can buy this from me. Shoot me an email. I'm going to put the little ticker up. You can shoot me an email there, and we'll sort it out as we've done in the past. And then in the second hour, I will sell. I got like 10 records I'll sell. Sean, if you have anything you want to sell on the spot, man, we can do it right now.
I don't know. I kind of, it's funny. I'm going through records that I've just gotten. I'm not an OG guy, but it's funny. I'm gonna.
Yeah, if you want to show anything.
Myself, I just got this OG Kadu Abe record that is pretty. He was in a duo called Overhang Party. This is a pretty unbelievable. If you're into Japanese free jazz, and Kadu Abe is, to me, probably in my mind one of the kings of Japanese free jazz. Totally like Albert Eiler, but on steroids. Really super into a lot of space in between the notes.
Okay.
But totally worth your time, and was a part of, really kind of the first wave of Japanese free jazz. Didn't live very long. I think he died in the mid 70s. He had a wife, and her name escapes me right now. She's a fairly popular Japanese author, and I think she wrote the book Terminal Boredom. So
okay.
Good. But in any event, Kadu Abe, if you're into like Albert Eiler or even just Japanese free jazz in general, and you've have not gotten to him yet, completely.
What years is that record from?
This is a collection of, I think they put it out right when he passed away, or a couple years after he passed away. I don't have the year with me, although 79. So this was kind of, I think, a couple of years after he passed away. It's a collection of stuff that he did with Toyozumi, who's a great drummer. But yeah, it's total just weird, cool stuff too. Like, it's not just Abe just didn't play sax; he also played harmonica and drums. I think he plays harmonica on this record. But anyways, Kadu Abe, especially if you really like Albert Eiler. Really
very nice. Yeah. That's one of your more recent scoresies.
Yeah, and then I mean, this is the other one that you and I have talked about this. I was looking for a copy of this. So it's very almost standard, like jazz vocals, but just done so well and kind of minimal. So it's This
was an interesting one. Yeah. Let me get you on the big stage here.
Yeah, this is from Terry Rini. When you first hear actually what's sad is they just pulled the 2 songs that were available online. They're gone. It's a private press. But it sounds like it sounds like if Patty Waters, if anybody here is familiar with like Patty Waters, she did stuff on like ESP disc. There is an Albert Eiler connection there. I think Albert Eiler may have discovered her. But anyways, imagine Patty Waters, if you're familiar with her, playing at a local like hotel jazz band. But it sounds like not great, but it's actually really, really. This is, if you can find it, it's a private pressing, but it's.
I checked this out when we were first talking about it because I was not familiar. Pretty bizarre, but it's you're giving it you're pretty accurate with your description on it.
Yeah, it's like a 1 a.m. record. Like you put it on at like 1 a.m. Kind of closing the night out, and it's good, really good.
Well, I'm gonna show this one more time. The Klaus Weiss or Weiss from 1982. It's called Sabia on the Black Sweat label. Email me if you want a copy. 26. I only have one left of these, and I think they are sold out with forced exposure. Maybe you can find it elsewhere, but that's what we'll say. It very much mirrors like the label design and everything the way Baraka was, the last release. First time on vinyl, so it's sort of the whole package. Now here's one that I don't think anyone, maybe some of you know. This was new to me. It looked familiar to me, and I know Stunty. I don't know if you know this, but what does this cover remind you of? I know what it reminded me of right when I saw it, if you're out there. But this is a band called 3/4 Skies, and it ties into who's actually, sorry for this glare, it ties into actually who's a part of this record. And it's a solo debut from Simon Scott of Slowdive. I like Slowdive. I'm not a huge Slowdive fan, but I certainly like them and enjoy them. But what intrigued me about this, Stunty nailed it right away. It is indeed mixed and I believe produced by David Pierce of Flying Saucer Attack. And I quite enjoyed this. It didn't feel, they only did one pressing. I think it's not just the one on Orange, but I quite enjoyed it. I was actually expecting for it to not be that great, but if David Pierce is involved, I don't believe he's doing very much these days. I had to check it out. So let's check this a bit. 3/4 Skies. This one's also $27 on the Sonic Cathedral label. So we'll see what this, this is going to be shoegazy or noise-esque, noise pop, noise, it's in that sort of mold, but there's a Flying Saucer Attack feel to what's going on. Now this might be, let me watch the audio on this. Okay. Let me just adjust it a little bit. All right. So it's not coming through at the moment, is it?
Not really. I mean, let's.
Yeah.
There we go. Sort of.
Yeah. My interface has not been cooperating today, so. I don't want to jack up the volume too much. It was pretty loud before, but. How's that? A little better?
You can kind of hear it.
Yeah, so it's weird the way this is working. Before it was blazing at the volume that I had that it's way below now, so I can't quite make heads or tails of why that is. So hopefully you can get a sense of it. Anyway, this is a debut album, only record, I believe. Just called Fade In by 3/4 Skies. Simon Scott of Slowdive. And it definitely has the textures of what Flying Saucer Attack would do. A band that, I never feel like I've gotten tired of that sound or what they do. It always feels right to me. been however many years they've been around, since the early 90s. Yeah, you could say that too.
Yeah, yeah.
So
is this like an ambient record? I mean, like it's tough to judge from because the sound is.
yeah, it's not. It definitely gets into like a bit of a rock sound too. But it has these sort of cosmic moments, which is sort of what we're hearing. I know it's not great. Let me try to. Sounding a little shitty at the moment. But yeah, this is just released this past year, at the end of the year. I didn't know that Simon Scott of Slowdive was really doing records or anything like that. But mixed by Scott with David Pierce. David Pierce being the main sort of Flying Saucer Attack dude or person in the band. Of course, you had the Movie Tone as a side project, which I love as well.
It's weird. I never got into flying. Not that I dislike Flying Saucer Attack. I know they put out a bunch of records in Drag City. I just, for some reason, I never got into them.
Oh, you never did? Okay. Have you checked them out a little bit?
I mean, I know who they are, and
Right. How's the audio sounding right now?
It's a little better. I mean, now you kind of.
Yeah. Well,
I feel what's interesting from what I can hear, like it's a lot more synth heavy than I thought it would be.
It's mainly atmosphere, and it gets into some sort of more rock textures. I don't believe there could be some synth on it. It just sort of blended in. Doesn't really tell you much on the sleeve notes. Sort of it definitely feels as though a Flying Saucer Attack collaborations in a sense. 3/4 Skies. So, yeah, that's another one I'm selling here today for $27. Email me if you're interested. I mean, you should stream this on your own because my stream is not doing it. In fact, I might even kill it. Not loving how it sounds right now. So I'll have to figure out a different thing next time. But yeah, a fun one to dive into. Something like, sometimes these unknown things, these unknown records of this, if I can sort of like find myself getting much more into it, just not knowing much about it, and a few basic details like a Flying Saucer Attack connection. Something about this sort of drew me in. So, and it's on orange vinyl. I mean, that's really, who doesn't love that?
Yeah, the color variants. Well, that's the only thing that you need to know about any record.
Well, I'm going to transition to a couple more of these new records I have. This next one, I feel like people will know. I was been meaning to get to it, and it's the latest Faust. So obviously, do you know your Faust records? How do you feel about Faust, Sean?
I mean, Faust, they're great.
Yeah,
they're great. I mean, I cheated a little bit. I had many years ago, before I sold my collection the first time, I had a couple of OG Faust records, and I sold them when I was selling my collection, and I got them for really like not much money. But I did end up buying the box set that came out a couple of years ago.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah. Yes. I mean, that's it's cheating. I get it, but it's
only cheating if you care.
Yeah, right. For me, I just wanted the records, but the box is great. I mean, quality wise, sound wise.
I didn't actually see it. I know it had sold, pretty much sold out. Those are records I did collect the original Germans on, so didn't feel the need. I've been thinking though that their archival releases have been really excellent and certainly worth finding out, digging more into. But this is, so I think there's like a splintered off group essentially. But this is Zappy Dietermeyer. And what I understand about this project is that they started with a trio to start in the late pandemic, which is sort of funny to say, recording bass tracks and then sending it on to some of the other members where they sort of completed them remotely. And it's got that industrial percussion heavy sort of rhythmic feel that I love about Faust. So I'm not going to bother playing it. I mean, I encourage everyone to check this out. And if you're interested, I do have a couple of copies if anyone wants to buy this one. Everything's about the same price today. This is $26 too.
Yeah, the only like newest Faust thing I have is the collab they did with Heino in I think 2022.
Okay.
21.
Yeah.
It came out on a label in China. It's really good. Really, really good. I mean, it's Heino and Faust, so it's really tough to go wrong. But that's as far as like new, like,
yeah, this to me really felt in the spirit of what they do. I remember Stunty, you saying you saw them in Den Bosch. Must have been this band, like as you're saying, this version of the band. It's Bureau B has been releasing the records. I know that over the last 10, 15, 20 years, there's been sort of different iterations of the band. I've sort of checked in and out and sort of found the ones that made the most sense for me. But this is one that's been out for a few months. I've just been meaning to dive into it. And I really, really enjoyed, really felt like it hit on all the notes that I love about Faust. So you should all check this one out. And if you're interested, email me. The other things I have here. So let's talk about this one, Sean.
Oh, yes. I mean, that's a brilliant, brilliant record. Just, I can't say enough good things about that. I mean, do you kind of know the background of that record? Like, kind of what the deal is?
I know the story of what she's done, and it appeals to me because, I've talked much about this Brenda Ray record, Walata, which she essentially worked with old Jamaican rhythms and recorded her own percussion, her own additional overdubs, and did vocals on top of like vintage recordings, which is kind of what Nancy Munier has done here.
Yeah, I mean, she transforms these songs into just something more, like, it's one of those few records, and you know me well enough, Dom, to know that like it takes a lot to like floor me at this point. You know what I mean? I think for any of us, right? Especially if we're listening to such dense music, this is one of those records where it doesn't matter if you're into experimental music, doesn't matter if you're into just, basic pop stuff or wherever you kind of land. I think you could put this record on and almost everybody would be like, what is that?
Yeah, I played this in one of the videos I did. I forget which one it was. One of the recent ones I had done. But this is on Holidays Records, and she has other records, I believe. I'm slipping my mind on that, but it's essentially, she's working with ancient Egyptian recordings and sort of recontextualizing, sort of like playing along with them, singing over them, adding instrumentation, and sort of recontextualizing in a really cool way.
The mastering, the original, because it originally came out digitally only. I want to say maybe a year ago, 2 years ago. And it was kind of on my radar then, but I was one of those things where I think I read just a blurb about it, before even discovering that it was getting reissued on vinyl. And I was like, I have to hear this. And then by the time I got around to it is right when they announced this vinyl version. But I know I know digitally, it was mastered by Hiba Karadi, which she's an unbelievable she's an unbelievable engineer in mastering. But again, this record, it's tough to describe in words, but just it's very dense of a record. Imagine old Egyptian songs just recorded very densely. There's like a, hate to use the term, but like it's very dreamlike. Um, it kind of takes you somewhere. That's you don't really go with a lot of records.
Yes.
It's tough to put into words. All I could say is if this is one of those records where if you don't hear a second of it, if you buy the record, you will not be disappointed. If you're watching this stream, you're gonna like this record.
Yeah, I was emailed by somebody who wants this record already, so I think this one's also sold out, at least with my distributor. I don't know.
Yeah, I think they only pressed like 500 copies of it.
Yeah,
too. So
nice booklet here, nice stuff. Yeah, I found myself just these kind of, like you said before, it kind of takes a lot to sort of get to move the needle for me. And I found myself just pulled away, just transported. Really wonderful stuff. I'm curious to see what else she's done because I feel like she's got a real interesting perspective and quite a talent. So
and Holidays Records, they're kind of on a roll right now. I mean, they have been for a while, but I think they really are. It's one of the records we discussed, Stunty. I don't know, we've discussed a lot of records, but I think I did send it to you and was like, you gotta check this out if you haven't already.
Yeah, that's in there.
Yeah. I mean, and I understand what you're saying. So I almost think that, and I agree with you, but I also even think that's a disservice to compare it to, because it's just so, it's on, to me, it's even, I wouldn't say better, but it's just
another plane.
So original.
So get in touch. This one I have a couple copies left. This is about the same price again, $26. I do want to talk. This is one I had earmarked for a little while, and Mr. Stunty, he played this one too on his stream. Anthony Moore. This is an unreleased soundtrack from 1969 on the Paradigm Discs label. And Anthony Moore, the English, of course, he would be in Slap Happy. I don't know. Yeah, wow. Slap Happy's somewhat well known, not maybe a little bit anyway. And this is a film by what's his name again? David Larcher, 1969 film, sort of avant-garde experimental film. And it's, I guess, the only way they could retrieve the audio for this was through the audio track on the from the actual film recordings. There's no master tapes for this, or at least they're lost or whatever. But so this has never been released before, effectively an archival release, but two sidelong tracks that really sort of it's just, you might say, avant ambient-ish. It's kind of a tough one to explain. The recordings use a mix of excerpts taken directly from the 16mm film soundtrack, plus other recordings that were supplied during the making of the film. And doesn't totally, no, there is an insert for this too. But Anthony Moore is someone I always feel like deserves more attention. I'm still digging into some of his records that I don't have. He's sort of someone on my list to sort of dig deeper. There's the Cloudland Ballroom, which is an incredible record. Really fell in love with that one. So yeah, there's all kinds of different techniques and different instrumentation doing here. Acoustic instrumentation, tape manipulation, pitch shifting, splicing. They're really playing with the tape itself here on this record. So I'm not going to play it right now. I just don't really trust unfortunately, I don't really trust my interface. But if you're interested,
who reissued that?
This is another one that I'm looking to sell.
Who reissued that though?
You familiar with this guy, Sean?
So can you hear me?
Oh, I didn't hear you. Did you go mute?
No.
No. Okay, it's my thing again. You there?
Hear me now?
Yeah, I hear you. Sorry about that.
No, I was just asking who reissued that.
This is on the Paradigm Discs.
Paradigm
disc label. First time issue. This is again also from last year. Pretty sweet. But let's see, 1 second. I'm gonna do that. Yeah, Mare's Tale, sort of a limited release again from Anthony Moore. If you don't know Slap Happy, I highly encourage you to check out Slap Happy. Phil Todd is the other musician in here as well. It's a I guess one contributor on this one. So there's that, and the last one I want to show, and then I'm going to go right into selling these personal stash of mine is the latest Michael Morley of Dead Sea. One half of Dead Sea. This one I'm a big fan of like Lauren Connors and Bill Orcutt and Jandek. I know some of these names ring for you.
Yep.
And this is sort of he's kind of trying to go in that mold and that route. All very sparse acoustic guitar, sort of it's acoustic bass, but it's not, they're not song based. They feel more like drifting, sort of sparse arrangement. And he's sort of doing these wordless vocals on this. It's called Push Streets. And of course, one half of Dead Sea. And this is sort of a continuation of a thing he did called Heavenly Idleness Awaits. Also these are both on the Thin Wrist label. And that one was him sort of doing more ambient, long-winded excursions, but all acoustic, and not even really heavily treated with that much atmosphere, just all sort of long-winded, languid, just beautiful excursions with acoustic. But this one, he shortens everything up and does what you might say, like Jandek version of that, if that makes sense.
And it kind of makes sense. It's on Thin Wrist.
I don't know if that's makes sense for some people, but it's in there. It's in there.
Yeah, and I mean, it kind of makes sense. It's on Thin Wrist. People don't know Thin Wrist is part of the Black Editions umbrella. And Thin Wrist is, I mean, they've done, I think, $75 guitar or 75. Not too familiar with that band. But they're part of the Black Editions umbrella. I know that Thin Wrist has done like Kevin Dumb records. I want to say they did they did that Surface of the Earth reissue. Oh,
they did, which was a stunner.
Yeah, that as far as like reissues go, I think that came out like 2 years ago, and that was like a day one purchase. Like I didn't think that would ever get reissued.
The packaging on that is stunning. The way the spot gloss works on that.
That's the thing about Black Editions, that umbrella. I mean, like they do really, really good work. I mean, I think, I wish
Thin Wrist is under that umbrella.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I think it's I don't know. I mean, I know that Steve left Black Editions a year or two ago. So I think it's just the other person now who's still running it. I hope that Black Editions goes back and leans into their PSF catalog.
Well, that was the whole start of it. That was why it started.
Yeah. And so there was a rumor.
There's a lot of ground to cover there,
I don't even know if it's a rumor, but there was supposed to be a Fushitsusha box set, the first album. Mm-hmm. And so they were supposed to be expanded like 5 LPs.
Right.
The original. I ended up buying, again, speaking of OGs, I ended up buying an original Fushitsusha.
Yes, I know that story. I think that's what we talked
about.
Yeah,
that was a wild story. I ended up getting another copy from somebody else. But that record's great, and I've been waiting for 15 years for that record to be reissued, and at some point it just wasn't coming out, and so I just was like, I'm just gonna buy an original. So anyways, Black Editions, that's the crown jewel is supposed to be that record supposedly, and it still hasn't come out, and so I don't really know what's going on with Black Editions right now in their PSF releases. I know there's one coming out fairly soon, but anyways, that's part of that umbrella. And if you like the quality in terms of packaging with Black Editions, you'll get that with Thin Wrist.
I absolutely love this one, and the one before I was mentioning, Heavenly Idleness Awaits, which is instrumental, and that's a double LP and just super expansive. This, he sort of like almost condenses what he did there, but adds like these wordless sort of yeah, like a little Lauren Connor's influence on the vocal, and I don't know, Lauren Connor sometimes on his vocals, it's not for everyone. I'll just say that you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I'm fine with his vocals.
Yeah, when he's doing like that, I don't know how I don't want to even try to do it, but it's weird. It's definitely no one like it.
Yeah, it's out there. It's out there.
It's definitely out there.
Have you ever listened to his mom's recordings?
Who is his mom?
I forget her name. I bought the record a couple of years ago, and it's really, really good. I'll give you the name in just a second. But her stuff actually got reissued fairly recently. It's really good stuff.
That's Lauren Connor's mother, huh? I was just listening to the Molly Drake record, which I pulled out of my shelf. The Nick Drake's mom.
I just got that Family Tree double LP like that.
Okay. Yeah, the Molly Drake recordings are amazing. I'm going to do something on that at some point. But anyway, I just want to come back to this. Yeah, this is Michael Morley. There's so much music related to Dead Sea or Bruce Russell or Michael Morley. You know, there are these artists that I think it makes sense to sort of cherry pick or look into. You know, not everything is going to necessarily check out. They're not ever meant to be that way. Some things are way more, heavy on the noise side. Some things are more sort of song based, but it's always definitely the outer fringes of like the New Zealand music scene, which is obviously where Michael Morley is from. So yeah, get in touch if you're interested in this one. They're all, again, like about the same price, $26-$27. And that's kind of the end of that. I want to jump into sort of these other records I have to sell to anyone who's interested, and they'll be interested after the fact. I put up a little video earlier of on YouTube of everything that I have here. So we'll get into it. So let me just see any other comments here. Yeah. Black Truffle, Black Sweat, amazing labels. But okay. So just a moment. Let's see. So, and if anyone would like to join me and Sean, send me a message to my Insta because I will share a link. Okay. Let me just get my little document ready. Sean, when's the last time you did like a heavy duty purge?
When I sold my record collection 15 years ago.
Okay.
That was that. I rarely sell records. It's
like is that right?
Doubles of something, or it has to be something where I'm like, this just, how did I end up with this? It's got to get out of. It can't be in my, which is rare. Like I have somebody gave me a copy of, what is that band? Death Heaven.
Yeah, like
that band's absolute garbage. And
I never got into them, but I know
they're
love them.
Absolute garbage. I rarely say. I try to keep my mouth shut.
For you, they're absolute.
Yeah. For other people, they may be great. They were like I think they were like a screamo band that became like black metal, and then they got pitched.
Didn't they go into like a bit of a Boris feel, or sort of a little like more that.
Somebody ended up giving me
cosmic.
One of their records. And I never opened it because I was like, this band is just not for me. So It's one of those that I'm actually looking at it right now on my shelf. And I should sell that one. That's just
there you go.
So my point though is that I rarely ever sell records. I should.
Oh.
I should. Trust me. I really should do a purge. I've been on a big just trying to like get everything organized. I have most of the records in here in alphabetical order. But at some point, I've got to go to the storage space and try to arrange stuff because I want to start bringing stuff from the storage space here and vice versa.
Sounds like Fred is a Death Heaven fan.
I can't. I just can't. I'm sorry. I mean, Fred, if you want this, I'll give you the record. If you just pay shipping, I can show you what it is.
There we go. If you don't have to sell, you can give.
Yeah, I don't even here. Let me. I'll be right back. I'll pull it off my shelf.
This is the first record I'm going to show. This is a reissue of a very rare tax scam album called Frigate: Dreams of the Deep. This thing's pretty awesome. I don't think I'll ever be able to get or find the original. It's a 1977 tax scam LP like most of them were. This is like if Funkadelic got even more sort of out there and sort of unhinged, this is what you get. And it's reissued by some label. I know I bought it through the Silk Breeze Bandcamp when this came out. I don't know how many years ago. And so I thought it was maybe a Silk Breeze subsidiary, but I don't know. It's apparently, according to Discogs, unofficial, which in my mind is an interesting thing to have, Discogs or whoever the heck's behind the rights to this label this as unofficial and not for sale when the original record was a tax scam. So kind of bizarre. If anyone's interested in this, write in the comments. Mine, Frigate, Dreams of the Deep.
So for anybody that's not to steal your thunder, because I know you're selling records, but this is the record that I was talking about. I don't.
That's the Deaf Heaven. Okay, it's behind me, please. Even
I haven't even opened it up. I don't know. I mean, I listened to some clips of this record. I think it's on Anti, which is
is it okay?
Anyways, I don't. If anybody's interested in it, I mean, literally, we'll pay for shipping.
That's a nice deal.
It's sealed. I don't know.
Maybe the magic of playing that on your rig will awaken you to the.
I'm good.
Amazingness.
I saw them. I think what it was is I saw them live, and I was just like, they were opening or they were playing with a buddy of mine's band, and I remember just being like, yeah. But anyways, if anybody wants this, just pay for shipping.
Yeah, you can.
I'll if anybody really is super interested, I can give my email to whoever wants it.
Yeah, or send it to me here in this scroll.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm asking $30 for this Frigate, Dreams of the Deep. Probably many don't know. I know Psychedelic. He was into this one. If he's still on. This is it's sort of a psych album, you might say, but it's just coming from, I don't remember, with the tax scam, it came out in 1977, it probably was recorded years earlier. And it's out of print. The original is like, not even attainable. So write in the comments if you want that. Next up, I have two. Let's talk a little bit about one of our favorite musicians.
Oh, yeah.
I have these two. These are both records I, of course, have. So these are duplicates. Fair Forward Villagers, Fair Forward Voyagers, Soldier's Choice. I don't know that you see this one all that much. It's from 1973.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, and I'm sure you know this, I think
this is the first labels on this one.
What's weird to me is there are certain Fahey records that we both expect to always be hard to get, right? Like,
yes, there's a couple that definitely are hard to get.
But there are some where I'm actually surprised that they're still not difficult to get.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of that too is his like 80s output, which is not really wanted. Last year I kind of went and grabbed everything I could with his 80s stuff, and I think it's pretty good.
Well, it is. I don't know that it is. If you're into getting some Fahey, I don't know that you need to get the 80s stuff. You could probably focus on the 60s and 70s, but it certainly lives up to, they're quality records, I would say.
And obviously you and I will talk about this much more later.
It wasn't until the 90s where he would really sort of get into another world,
You're on mute.
So yeah, Requiem, and this is one of his. It sort of started with volume 6, maybe even volume 4, of him really going into sort of tape manipulation and experimentation, and this one takes it to another level. The first side is definitely Fahey doing Fahey, and in terms of his guitar playing and what that was, which was very unique in its own way. Of course, he really was one of the earliest players doing this, and in a lot of ways, there were players that were way more talented technically than he was. But the way that he sort of, you know, his way around the guitar was very much singular in his own right. Well, Basho was certainly more technically proficient. Leo Kottke, Fahey was his own sort of man, almost like a punk in a way. If you read,
oh yeah, I mean it's
into this another
but
time,
in every sense of
he
the
was
word,
very much almost, you know, kind of an asshole. We'll just say that.
You know, the wildest story. Well, one of the wildest stories for me, and I know Dom, you've probably heard this, especially if you've has anybody seen the documentary. But there's the where he used to go and put his own 78s in thrift stores. And my dream is to always is to see if I could ever find one of them, which is impossible now. But I don't know if you've known anybody that ran into a Fahey 78 at a thrift store.
Sorry, I lost you, Sean. I'm
Can you
problem on
hear me now?
my interface. Yeah. Just give me a moment. If you can talk for a minute about Fahey, I'm going to change.
Yeah. So, I mean, in any event, so they're in the Fahey documentary. There's a segment of it where they talk about Fahey basically putting his record in thrift stores. He had a 78, I think, that he put out. And I don't know how many copies of it there are, but yeah, you could find, if you went to certain thrift stores in the Maryland area, you could find some Fahey 78s. And I think ultimately, you know, whatever it was, 40 some odd years later or whatever, Jack Rose essentially, I think, did the same thing. I don't know if he did it with 78s, but yeah. So in any event, Fahey's great. And I know Dom and I are kind of working on a Fahey video that'll come out probably sometime this spring. I don't want to give too much away. Dom, I'm kind of letting people know.
Sorry about that. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you fine. I was just letting the people know that we've got a Fahey video at some point.
Yes.
That's on the way. Not any more information other than that.
Yeah, I haven't really, just me and you talked about that, but yeah, there's going to be a focus with you and myself and a writer, and we'll see. That's going to come out. We're going to really get into sort of his history, and I think specifically the 90s is what we sort of really wanted to dive into in terms of a very much not an interesting period for him. He was certainly not in the best shape, but in a way, he was also being rediscovered in the 90s by a whole new group of people, not to mention myself.
Yeah, I mean, we got more kind of light on that a little bit when Thurston Moore put out his biography, you know, whatever it was last year. And Thurston talks about touring with Fahey, and there's a couple of stories, which I think we'll go. I don't want to give it away now here, but it really shed some light into why he was rediscovered the way that he was.
Okay.
And it kind of really nailed home that Fahey really was who he said he was. You know, he wasn't
certainly a singular quantity, and didn't conform to what was going on.
Yeah, even in his last days, you know. So
yeah, this is true. He wasn't about technique, or it wasn't about sort of a perfection. It was just about feeling and sort of imperfection, and what was so cool about him. So yeah, these are wonderful records. Like, this is from 1967. This is the stereo. This is the first pressing. If anyone needs this is $25. Perfectly nice copy of Requia. Just write in the comments if you're interested in Requia. This is $25. You can see totally fine shape. And this one's $35. Fair forward. Also nice shape. Does actually have one little split up here, but otherwise, like, very little ring wear. And the record is like a VG++. So,
Dom, have you just been slowly replacing your Fahey collection with just better?
Yeah, he's probably the only artist that I just keep buying. When I see them for good prices, I buy them, and I'm slowly upgrading. And I'm stashing a bunch of records too of his just to sort of save and, you know, potentially use for whatever. But yeah, I'm just been trying to get the best collection as possible. And I just, I still think that you see them. I think there's value to or obviously I think there's value, but I'm saying I think they're undervalued in a way. I think maybe that
100%. Yeah. I think that those records should be even more than what, like, I get it. The first few Fahey records are always going to be really expensive.
Yeah.
But I think those records in particular, those should actually be $50, $60, $70 records just based on the quality of music. You know what I mean? Like, just how important. I mean, like you had mentioned Fahey being punk. And again, I don't want to go deep into Fahey lore because there's going to be another video for that. But
we'll get there.
That was, you know, to me, it was kind of like Saturn and like Tacoma were like, you know, some of the first real DIY labels, you know.
I think he was really, when he released his first album, Blind Joe Death, 1959, I don't know who the heck would have done that before then. There's not many examples of someone private pressing their own record at that time. And Tacoma was one of the first independent labels, along with El Saturn. And as Stunty's talking about here, the second side of this is all basically musique concrète. It's Requiem from Morley, parts 1 through 4. And then it ends with Fight On, Christians, Fight On. You know, this tanked. Like Vanguard signed him, and you know they were really hoping for something because his popularity was sort of building, but he was like his own worst enemy. He really constantly was taking the wind out of his own sails because he didn't really like the counterculture movement. Like there was elements about that he liked, but then he also was sort of a traditionalist, and he was just a weird dude, and he was constantly running against the grain. You know, and but at the same time, he was embracing psychedelia, doing musique concrète. I mean, through and through on this record, and then the second one, The Yellow Princess, as well.
I was gonna say he only did two for Vanguard, right?
Yeah, 2, and then he went back to Tacoma with America, I believe, as Alex is saying. There you go. Well, yeah. If I don't have 2 Americas yet, Alex. But this one, Fair Forward Villagers, is a little bit later, by the way. This is when he's back doing Tacoma. And Tacoma, at this point, was really living off the success of Leo Kottke. But they really were fueling the label, or Leo Kottke was really fueling the label. But anyway, we're talking Fahey, and I am selling this for $25 and Fair Forward Villagers for $35. But there's so much more to talk about with him. That's what our stream will be about. So, okay, we can do that. So Alex will lay claim to that one. Where are you at with your Fahey collection? Is there anything you're still looking for? I mean, there's a few things I'm looking for.
At this point, I'm kind of like you, where I would slowly start to. I mean, look, ultimately, I would love there are two records in my orbit that I would pay exorbitant amounts of money for. A very first pressing of Spiritual Unity, Albert Eiler, and first pressing of Blind Joe Death. If those were presented in front of me and they were relatively fair prices, I could see myself, cracking for one of them, both of them. But as far as my Fahey collection goes, I mean, the nice thing you were just kind of intimating earlier is that some of these records, original pressings, are not that expensive. You know what I mean? And so it really, for example, I got The Voice of the Turtle, an original pressing of that, last year for a really good price.
It's the condition that's usually and Tacoma, they're not known for their nice pressings. So usually they look VG. And they'll play better, or they're going to play as good as they're going to, essentially.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, I'd like to get an original pressing of, what is that, the Contemporary Guitar 67 comp.
Yeah, I have that. There is an earlier pressing, an earlier label, but I have the first cover, which is a beautiful cover. But I was reading a lot about
the first cover, the purple cover. Okay.
Yeah, there's a white cover with a different design, but the designer for all, I read about it in the book by Rosenthal, but I can't remember the designer's name, but he was doing all of the sleeves for Tacoma Records. So, but yeah, still undervalued. I think that might always be the case. So,
yeah, and again, this is the last thing I want to say on Fahey, and I'm just curious, and maybe this is something we can discuss in that video.
Yeah,
maybe the preview for that. Why do you think that is?
Good question. I don't know. I mean, it's not as if he's obscure. You know, there's certainly some people who've missed him.
Right. And I mean, like, in my mind, those El Saturn records are way more expensive and harder to come by, right? And there were actually more of them. You know what I mean? In a sense.
Yeah, and some of those El Saturns, yeah,
you know,
some of the El Saturns, they not only is there more quantity of title, but they made a fair amount of El Saturn records. I mean, he was constantly reproducing those. Where Tacoma, you know, I don't know. I really don't know. I think he, like I said, he was his own worst enemy so much of the time. And I think he frustrated a lot of people that he worked with. And probably that's kind of thing builds up over time and people just miss it. But, you know, in the 90s, that rediscovery of who he was and, you know, how much he was really influencing people making experimental music, I think that sort of told the tale, I think. But I don't know. I'm still snatching them up as I see them because he's obviously really important to me, and I like having his records around.
I know everybody kind of has a record like this, but if my first introduction of Fahey was of Rivers and Religions.
Was it? Okay.
And which is a very odd Fahey record to be the kind of, you know, the entryway, you know, but I just, you know, I was probably 18, 19, and I never heard anything like that ever. You know what I mean? Even that record is so weird. So, you know, and that record is like, anyways, anytime I see that record, if it's cheap, I'll just buy a copy of it and be like, hey, have this.
Of Rivers and Religion? Rivers and Religion? Yeah, that's like one of his 2 orchestra records, which
the other one's not as good, but that one, you know, even down to the art, I love like the dark green and the, you know what I mean? Like it's, you know, it's a very New Orleans record, clearly.
I wondered if, like, because those 2 records are on Reprise, I wondered if that was like his way to sort of like, you know, it was the John Fahey Orchestra, so he was able to sort of orchestrate a different deal that wasn't on Tacoma. I wonder what the history of that was. Another one maybe to sort of mention.
Yeah. I mean, like, he brought in what he considered an orchestra, right? Credits on that record there's a lot of them.
Well, anyway, that was a lot of Fahey talk. Again, we will announce a Fahey video soon. Get in touch with me or right here if you're interested in either of those Fahey records. Sounds like Alex is going to take the Fair Forward Voyagers, but I have some jazz records. Does everyone like jazz?
I think so.
Does everyone like jazz? I like this album, but it is up for sale right now. Air Song by Air, the trio of Hopkins, Threadgill, and Steve McCall. This is on Indian Navigation, a label, a really interesting label with a variety of different types of things. As much like Yoshi Wada being on that label, I always thought was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Here's what we have. Very nice press. This is really super nice shape. If anyone's interested, this is. Let me see what I'm selling this one for. Near mint for $40. $40 on this Air Song album from 1982. Jazz. Yeah, I like. Yeah, you really do. The summational powers of jazz brings on Jazz Bumps Mike. Hey, so
that Indian Navigation label, they put out a really good David Murray record. As somebody who's very obsessed with Albert Ayler, like I am, he did an Ayler tribute record. And it's really, really good.
Okay, cool, nice. Cool. Well, this is up on the docket for sale. I will make this available now, and if it is available later, you can buy it from me then. Just email me. We're going to roll through these. $40 on this. Air Song. I have an FMP. Oh no, sorry, this is on Japo. Globe Unity improvisations with like, you know, a big old lineup. All those cats. Really cool. I love this Japo design, actually. Simple. That's a German pressing, you know. Beautiful one. This is like $15, I think, for this one.
No, that's not bad.
Yeah. I'm double checking. $15, 1978 German original, a Globe Unity. Who do we have? I might show you briefly. But Kenny Wheeler, Evan Parker, Albert Mangelsdorf, Brotzman, Michel Pils, Manfred Schoof, Derek Bailey on guitar, Alexander von Schlippenbach. I mean, this is sort of ground zero for those players. 1977. Well, it's not ground zero. It's certainly much later, but all the big names from that scene.
Yeah, I'm actually I think I'm going to buy it. And it's not on vinyl, but there is a vinyl, sort of a vinyl version of this. But there was a German like free jazz festival that I think started, I want to say like 74 and ran for about 4 years.
Yeah.
And there's 2 box sets where it captures every performance from those shows, and it's all everybody that you'd want. Brotzman, I mean, it's every, at that mid 70s point, German free jazz player was involved in these shows. And I think the first box is 11 discs and the second box is 8 discs. And anyways, so speaking of German free jazz, that's kind of been on my radar.
Oh, Blitz. Yeah. So, yeah, Globe Unity, yeah, for 15, it's yours. Just email me. I like that competition in the chat. This Ron Carter album, nice record on CTI. I don't collect a lot of CTI, but I got a couple little gnarly cut there. But white label promo. This is Joe Henderson, Roland Hanna, Richard T. Billy Cobham, Ron Carter, of course. Who's played on more sessions than Ron Carter? Not many. And there's that. 1974. Yeah, one of the more interesting, more sort of, you might call it modal, but, you know, CTI not necessarily known for their experimental in their own right, but in their own way, you know, kind of fusion more, you know, on the fusion side of things, of course. I don't have to go into the depths of CTI, but this one I'm going to sell for $20. It's VG Plus for that one. Yeah, anything with Joe Henderson, you need to sort of give a look to. Definitely. I have a dupe of this record. I love this album. Stephen Halpern's Christening for Listening. This is not in the nicest shape, but, you know, it sells for quite a bit. Well, I mean, the sleeve is not in the nicest shape, I should say. The record is really nice. VG Plus. Now, this one has price on this one. Yeah, so this one is going to be $40. This is the second pressing that doesn't have the sort of like the most famous track that was used as a sample. It's got a break in it. I personally don't really care. I love the ambient sort of new age of this record for which is what it is mostly. It's from 1976, so you can see it does have some of that. You know, but this one sells for probably 3 times what I'm asking for it. So $40 for this one. This is a beautiful, very immersive record that's on the Sound Principle label. A soundtrack for everybody, Christening for Listening. You know this one, Sean?
No, I actually had to look it up. It sounds super interesting.
It is. I mean, he's definitely, you see a lot of his other records, which are $5 to $10 albums, a little more
Right.
sort of heavy new age. This one is certainly more cosmic. So, yeah. Oh, okay. Mark, yeah, it's yours, man. Yeah, I could see Derek, this one, you liking that one. This is the second pressing, Stunty. It's not the one that has the band. There's one track that this one doesn't have that the earlier pressing does, which makes that one considerably more expensive. There was a copy of this one, the first pressing at WFMU, and the guy wanted $350 for it, which is a little high. It is, but this one, to me, it's more about it removes that track that has the break, which and sort of faithfully makes it more about what this record is, which is a sound approach to centering, relaxation, and meditation.
Well, speaking of like meditation music, I mean, it's not a record. I just grabbed this from Important, the Gartha box set. This thing is unbelievable. This is, I mean, it was meant for, I think it's kind of, it almost reminds me a little bit of Alice Coltrane's the series of cassettes that she did, not like jazz in any way. I mean, this is definitely new age music.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it was almost like commercialized, but this is really, really dense stuff. I think Important reissue this. It didn't come out on vinyl or anything, but it's totally worth your time if you're into.
I think that's a lot of what would happen with the new age. Like I love the earliest versions of those new age records where it really just felt like it was more sort of cosmic, expansive, ambient, sort of meditational music, but it sort of got, as you said, commercialized and homogenized, and it's obviously way less than some of these records.
I mean, it's one of those things where I feel, and I know this isn't the case with that, but it would be like if you're watching TV late night, it would be like, you know what I mean? One of those like things that would just come on at like 3 a.m. You know what I mean? Like, whereas I think, for example, I know Alice Coltrane had a show like that in the 80s. I think it's on. It's on Criterion Channel. You can watch this like Alice Coltrane TV show from the 80s, and it's all about spiritual meditation and kind of new agey. It's got a new vibe to it,
right? Much of what she would be doing throughout the rest of her days was sort of involved in that whole thing. Here's a local record for me, which I see quite a bit. I'll probably rebuy this at some point because I do quite like it, but I figured it'd be a fun one to offer here. It's the first Mother Mallard's portable masterpiece, which is David Borden, for those who don't know. He's local to this area. He's still here, I believe. This is recorded right nearby me in Trumansburg, New York, at the Bob Moog Studio in 1970. This is 1973 release. It's on his own Earthquack label, East Shore Drive. That's right near where I live here in Ithaca, New York. So a local tie to this record. I see this quite a bit, plus all his other records. This is another one that's sort of, I wouldn't call this quite new age. It's sort of that post, it's almost like an American sort of Tangerine Dream or Klaus Schulze, that kind of thing. Two side long tracks, I think it is. But it's actually a group here. David Borden, Steve Drews, Linda Fisher. All of his records are quite good. This is my favorite. This one on the awesome Earthquack. So I'm going to put this one out there for everybody. This is another $40 record, VG Plus, and one that, maybe there's been sort of a little more awareness around this. Let's see a little bit of wear up there. This one ties in nicely actually with the Stephen Halpern, but this one's a little more less new age, sort of more experimental, ambient experimental. David Borden and the Mother Mallard. Yeah, he's got a few other records under the Mother Mallard moniker and some under his own moniker.
What year is that, Dom?
This is 1973. on the Earthquack. Yeah, I don't know. He's got some awareness about him, but hasn't really been, there's not really reissues of these. I don't believe there's any reissue of this. I'll have to double check. I don't know. I think they pressed a fair amount of them, but like I said, because it's new, or I see this record here quite a bit. There were Cuneiform CD reissues, but no vinyl reissues of this one. Cuneiform did a reissue in the late 90s of a bunch of his stuff, which includes this. So if anyone wants this, just comment right now or email me later. $40 for that one. Mother Mallard. You got any other records?
Cuneiform being the Soft Machine like reissue label, right? And I know Soft Machine doesn't run that label. I'm just saying they've reissued a bunch of Soft Machine stuff, I think.
Who was it? A Cuneiform?
Cuneiform. I'm pretty
sure. That could be, yeah. Let's see. Here's another avant-garde. This one's sort of more field recordings, I suppose. I admittedly haven't listened to this one in a while, but I'm just going to offer it for sale. A nice record, from what I remember. David Tudor's Rainforest 4.
Oh, I mean, it's David Tudor. It's going to be. Yeah.
I didn't, everything I usually go back and check and make sure I want to sell it. This one I didn't get to, so maybe my loss. Rainforest 4. This is from, 1973? It's the original German pressing on the block, or Gramavision, technically. There you have it. This is, here we go. Look into this one if you don't know it. I'm going to plead ignorance because I haven't listened to this in a while, but it's multiple electronics coming from a group of people: John Driscoll, Philip Edelstein, Ralph Jones, Martin Calvé, David Tudor, Bill Viola. Maybe I will keep it, Michael.
Yeah, I'm very surprised. Yeah, Dom. I mean, look, I'm not going to sit here and say I've heard that record, but it's David Tudor. I mean,
yeah.
I'm
trying to bring interest.
For how much would you have sold it for? I'm very curious.
I'm selling it right now for $60.
That's a fair price. I mean,
$60.
I'm looking on Discogs right now, and that's a pretty fair price for. Yeah, because.
I mean, I'm trying to raise money. If it's not getting played recently, I'm like, there must be a reason for it. If I regret it, that's okay. So, David Tudor's Rainforest 4.
Dom, you may want to go back and just give that record a quick listen through before you.
I probably should.
If there aren't any committers.
All right, we're gonna keep moving then.
Yeah.
Here's another classic. I have 2 copies of this.
You should.
I have 2 copies of that.
People should have that in their collection. If you don't,
this is pretty much. I mean, look who you have here. This is from. I also think. What is it? I think it's from '67 as well. Maxfield, sort of an underappreciated name between the two. I mean, as far as Reich and Oliveros, Maxfield maybe not quite as known, but I believe wasn't Maxfield sort of more of somewhat the father of some of this sound.
Yep.
I remember correctly. Yeah, this is on the Odyssey label. This one, I think, the Columbia subsidiary of Odyssey was doing these types of records. This, of course, features Come Out. If you don't know Come Out, just look it up. It has to do. So yeah, it's the. I forget the specific case of who it was, but it was a young boy saying, it was a cop police abuse, I believe, and they punched him and he started bleeding, and they keep repeating, "Come out to show him, come out to show him," and that's the piece. It's the whole side, I believe. 1258 anyway. It's part of the side one, but it's one of those cases similar to Sitting in a Room. I Am Sitting in a Room, where the same line gets repeated and it just keeps looping and looping, and it becomes this whole other thing. And it's a seminal piece of music.
I mean, as far as like, I think we both come from the world of punk and post-punk and post-hardcore, and splits, three-way splits were always a thing. And I always tell people with this record and a couple of others, like, as far as like splits go, this is like one of the best split like LPs you could buy.
Right.
I mean,
of that time in a different mold. New sounds and electronic music.
But I implore you, if you're into experimental music at all and you don't have this in your collection, it's a no-brainer.
Yeah. So whoever doesn't have this, I think I should give you a price. That would help. It's VG plus $30 for this one.
It's a fair, because a lot of copies of that are just like totally beat up, like they're just totally beat up copies of that record. So to see it in VG plus,
get in touch or tell me now. Buy now or cry later. No, you can buy now too, or buy later too, depending on if anyone else gets in touch with me first. I got 2 more records. Do you have anything else you want to throw out there that you'll ship for free or ship for?
That I'll ship for free, or that I'll give away for free. I'd have to. One of these days, Tom, I may need you and Stunt. If I do end up purging my collection and for something like that, I may have you show some stuff to you guys. If I ever, I'm nowhere close to doing that now, so nobody getting ideas. But at some point, I do have some stuff, some doubles.
You just got to take the time to go through it, right?
Yeah, that's really what it is. Yeah.
The piece Oliveros.
It's 1 of 4.
1 of 4.
Yeah.
All right. This is maybe sort of obscure for most. Maybe some know Darren Kearns, sort of in that early 80s experimental ambient type sound that was happening. This is Dutch pressing on the Atmosphere label. Impressions of the natural, or its optimal being, but we have this going on here. Darren Kearns has a few other records. This is, as I said, from 1983. The sleeve has got some gunk on it, unfortunately. Maybe you can see it, but still kind of presents pretty well. So we can, obviously that sleeve is not going to do it any favors, but a VG sleeve. Near mint record, though. I'm asking $35 for this one, and I'll give you a little bit of information on this guy. Kearns, here we go. How many records did Kearns have? Like I said, this is from 83. Yeah, only one other record, which was a cassette, so pretty obscure. Guitarist and keyboardist essentially creating, ambient sound. $35 on that. Yeah. Chris this is a favorite, or one of a record for him for sure. There it is. Get in touch or tell me right now. And here's an Italian experimental record from Igistomacci, Contemporanea. That's an original pressing there from on the Gamelli label. The library record, of course.
What not to pick your brain, Tom, but what year is that?
This one, this is an early 70s record. Let's see. It's not jumping out at me. Yeah, this one's not jumping. Hold on 1 minute. Yeah, here we go. This is 1975. Bit of an abstract, certainly experimental. These library records that Macchi was doing at the time, very much, he was one of the bigger producers of them. And I have a few that I quite like. This one wasn't getting as much play, so I'm going to put this one out there. All right, Mark, it's yours, man. Yeah, G. Stomachi. There's been a really steady stream of archival records coming out from Machi. That some have been really quite good. I haven't really latched onto everything, but this Gamelli label, if you can find stuff on this label, you should certainly pay attention. Really cool. Always cool. Again, there it is. This one I'm asking. This one's not too much, I don't think. Let's see. This one's 35 as well. Original Italian pressing. Yeah. That's kind of it. That's where I'm at. Anything you want to throw out there, Sean?
No, not really. I just kind of wanted to come up and hang out. Like I said, I got to do my one every quarter quota of a video of whatever.
Yeah.
And the next quarter will be when you and I get together and work on that Fahey video.
Yeah, we'll do more. There's more to come on that. We'll announce that properly. It's just good to get on the screen and chat with you.
Yeah, so, it's been a while, and it's been quite a last couple of months.
Yes, I do. But I've gotten everyone who's claimed records. Please email me. I'll go through back again what I have. Okay, Tice, you got it. Yeah, anyone who's said you'll claim, please email me. It's the easiest way to go from here. So yeah, we still have this one, the electronic music by Oliveros, Maxfield, and Reich, the Mother Mallard. I believe, this one was sold. The Christening for Listening. The jazz records are the Ron Carter All Blues, and Globe Unity, and Air on Indian Navigation from 1982 with these gentlemen. Nice one. The two Faheys, I guess Alex has sort of claimed that one, but can't recommend Requia enough.
Yeah.
This was 25.
I mean, with that record, you almost get the best of both worlds.
You do.
You know what I mean? Like, if you're really not sure if you want to dip your toe in Fahey's just, I don't want to call it regular guitar world because it's not, but
yeah, it's essentially the first side is him doing his acoustic thing. And if you missed it before, the second side is all the music concrete, which he did quite well, if you ask me. Oh, okay. You got it, John. Let's get a bidding war. And this Frigate, this is a reissue of a very rare tax scam. And then I'll just run through all the records we discussed again. With these, I have limited copies here that I can sell, that I'm selling for. Email me if you're interested in one. They're all mainly $26 to $27. That's a very specific price, but you pay for new records. You don't get, you don't make a lot of money on them. Michael Morley's Push Streets. The Anthony Moore Mare's Tale, which was a stunt he played on one of his last few streams. I think people enjoyed it there. I wanted to play more, but I've been having all kinds of problems with my interface today. I have to replace it. So anyway, really cool soundtrack, limited, first time vinyl release. There's I think 500 copies of this. Let's see. Oh, the Nancy Mounier.
Yeah. I mean, that's. I'll say it one more time. I cannot say enough good things about that record.
Yeah.
If you're not, it's one of those records where I promise you, without listening to a second of it, it's worth every penny you spend.
It was in the background of one of my last few videos too, so you can see that. But I think this one's sold out at the source too, or Soundo may still have copies, but I've got some. Faust, which is really just self-titled but curated by Zappy Dietermeyer. This is their most recent studio album. And a couple more. The Three Quarter Skies. This was the Simon Scott of Slowdive produced by David Pierce of Flying Saucer Attack on the Sonic Cathedral label. And then I know I have one copy of this left, the Klaus Weiss. No synthesizers. And the thing we started with that we were playing, the Finnish jazz label Uaga Da. There we go. That's everything we went through in almost 2 hours here. I wanted to do more streaming of the stuff, but it was starting to really bug me. And yeah, maybe next time. But anyway.
Dom, before we go, is there any, I know that you've been kind of purging your collection and buying originals. Is there anything recently, or it's kind of just been like, I can't believe I found that, or why is this so difficult to find?
There's been a couple. Yeah. I'll share. Let me grab a couple if you give me a second. I'll share them here, and I'll do like official videos on them. But these two were two records I wanted to find that all came at the same time. Hold on one sec. So like many people, I mean, a lot of people in this audience are collecting or into Don Cherry. So I was able to find these two, the original Japanese.
Nice. Yeah.
Blue Lake and Orient.
Yeah. I
wasn't looking for the Obi strip. I was just looking for fairly priced versions of these. And this dealer, or not dealer, but store in France called Plexus Records had like a sale right around the new year, and they would do free shipping too. And I was able to get them from their website. Super happy. I mean, these are, I think prime Don Cherry for me. OK Tamiz is sort of one of the main players on these. They're both double albums recorded live. I know Blue Lake is definitely recorded live. But
Orient is one of those records, man, where I have an original pressing of that. And when I was purging my collection, I didn't get rid of it. It's but what's hilarious is, I didn't expect you to bust out Don Cherry. So I'm not trying to buy original pressings, as I keep saying, but I did get this reissue.
Oh, I don't think I've even seen that yet.
Yeah, it's great.
Is that new?
It's fairly new. I want to say it came out the end of the year.
I've not seen that yet.
Around and Sound Ohm got some in, and I grabbed it. It's great. I mean, it's great. If you like Orient, I mean,
I'm a new subscriber to Sound Dome. Until a few weeks ago, I hadn't subscribed at all, so I'm just really looking at their website regularly now. I typically would work with Forced Exposure to get a lot of the same things, but Sound Dome definitely has things Forced Exposure does not. So that was where my interest was.
Well, it's funny. I know for me, it's like, and it's funny. Forced Exposure ends up getting a lot of what Sound Dome gets, but it's just much later, like months later for certain things, and
especially those European records, which a lot of was what Forced Exposure.
And I mean, like once you become a member of Sound Dome, and you may have already noticed this, it can be really dangerous to your wallet, because it's like you've got that discount, you know what I mean, and it's free shipping, and it's just like you're kind of piling stuff up, and I mean, Sound Dome has been a blessing and a curse all at the same time for me. But it's funny. I will now forever pay for that membership. It's totally worth it.
Yeah, it makes sense. It really does, based on the free shipping and the little discount you get. And I've noticed even some of the records that they're selling through Sound Dome are cheaper retail than they are wholesale for Forced Exposure, which I'm like, okay, I can't make heads or tails necessarily why, but so it made sense. Plus the free shipping thing and the shelf thing, I think is the greatest function of it. The idea that you can reserve things just until it hits that threshold before it ships. That's something that to me is, unparalleled, really.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting to me. I wonder if forced exposure would ever do something fairly similar to that. You know, I don't think
they should.
they should. I just don't think they would. I mean, I know that there's a punk store in North Carolina that does something fairly. You don't have to pay a membership fee, but if you are buying records and you're like, hey, I don't want this shipped yet, you know, because I want to see what else you've got. If you get to a certain point, it's like $60.
Yeah.
That automatically gets you free shipping. But if you put in a code called like hold pile, it just starts kind of like a box for you where it's like, buy one record and then just leave it there in the box. And then
that gets dangerous too. Yeah. But it's just nice to know that you don't have to pay shipping on every record. That's just a nice.
Yeah, especially with those records coming from Europe. I mean, that would be like, that's the Boomcat is great. I love Boomcat, but ordering from them, shipping is horrible.
Absolutely.
You know,
it's actually not bad, but I mean, comparatively, you know, you're doing that on every record when you can go through Soundomes.
Yeah.
Anyway, these are. I'll just show these real quick. I'll talk about them more. I'm still sort of processing. These are dense listens, so. But I figured I'd throw that out there, and we'll be back on this in these realms for this Fahey video, which I will properly announce. And if anyone saw anything you're interested, just email me, and I'll sort it out with you. And then anyone who's claimed it here will follow up. So that's it.
Cool.
Cheers, man.
Yeah, Dom, when we exit, don't go anywhere. I want to talk to you offline here real quick.
Yeah, no problem. All right.
So,
Peace,
all right, guys. Be safe.
Be well.